Hello and welcome to the Glow Up and Love Yourself Challenge Day 2. We've got some howler monkeys in the background that are welcoming you back. And I just want to say thank you for showing up on day 1 and participating, and for the shares that we're starting to get coming in. I also just want to double check. Did you actually watch day 1 yet? If you have not watched day 1, remember it is recorded, so you will be able to check that out. Either press pause and go now, or watch after this program, this particular episode. Whatever works for you is A-okay. Howler monkeys are still in the background. They were a little quieter this morning, and the birds, though, are incredibly active here. We are here in Costa Rica. Here they are again. I do tend to get relatively distracted when the howler monkeys start to chat, so just warning you now. I also wanted to, it's so amazing. I also wanted to just thank you for really stepping up and rocking it with the community support. This community is such a great community. They are here to cheer you on, to support you through this journey. So feel free to show each other some love and keep supporting. If you want to connect, there's some great potential friendships that are going to come out of this group if you reach out and if you connect. So this is another maybe get out of your comfort zone challenge for you. If you're looking to meet like-minded people that are going through stuff, but that are ready and willing to work on it, then those are the people that are going to help bring you to a whole nother level of you, perhaps, right? So, as we've said, what happens in the Glow Up Challenge stays in the Glow Up Challenge. So remember, this is a private group for that very reason, so that you can be comfortable to share. So just, again, make sure you respect each other's privacy, and that's all good. So how was day 1? I would love if you were able to do a quick share or a comment and let us know maybe a highlight from the day, or maybe something that was really impactful that you had discovered, or maybe you had an aha moment. I know for me, one of the things that I have in my journal is I have a page at the back of my book when I'm going through courses and doing different things. That's kind of an aha page. And what I'll do on that page is I'll write down any, like when I have those lights went on in Vegas moments, and I will go back there and I'll write that down just as a highlight. The other thing that I also do is I have an action page. So anything that I hear as I'm going through different programs that I want to take action on, I'll write that on a separate page, so that it's a really quick reference rather than flipping through all the pages of the notes to find those things. So that's just a couple of little, insights that might be supportive to you here. And, you know, it's really about, this is your program. This is for you. And you're going to get out of this whatever you put in. So if you want to put lots of effort in and really look at what's happening, you're going to receive a ton of feedback. Now, some of it's going to be great feedback. Some of it's going to be some really challenging feedback. Remember, again, you have this community, you have me. If you have questions, always reach out and just send a message or put something in the community to ask for the support that you need. And that's a really big thing for women, is often we don't ask for what we need. We think that the world, especially the men in our lives, are telepathic and that they know what we need because we're feeling it. And so that means that they know. I've tried that for a really long time and it does not work. If you want something in your life, you must ask for it. And if you get a no, well, then maybe you need to ask someone different or ask a different question. But if you don't ask, 100% the answer is going to be no. If you do ask, maybe, but then you do the next thing. And if that doesn't work, you do the next thing. And if that doesn't work, you do the next thing. right? And that is how that persistence is. That's the persistence for me is the part that has really helped me get through a lot of different areas, because it's really easy to just give up and say, well, that's just the way it is, or, this is just my life. It's really, really easy to do that, but it's not necessary. You don't have to live the way that you are living now if it's not working for you. If it's working for you, fabulous. But if you have pieces in your life that are not working for you, the only way that they're going to change is if you do something different. Sometimes that requires asking. Okay, that was a real squirrel moment for me. We're going to get back on track now. So the just wanted to check in as well. Did you finish your Wheel of Life yesterday? If you did not, that's no big deal. We are not going to use it today, but we will start using it tomorrow. So please make sure that you go to the area where the attachments are, and if you can't find that, just let me know, and we'll get you a copy of that Wheel of Life so that you can fill that out to share with us. All right. The next thing, if you are missing any of this and you want to, as the group goes on, and you want to complete your challenges, always just go back to the private group and all the reference material will be in there. Remember, there's going to be daily prizes. So we talked about that yesterday. So the grand prize of our daily prize is going to be a 2-night stay in our Pool View Lounge or Pool View Room. We have an Airbnb on our farm in Campbellville near Toronto. That is going to be one of the prizes. There's also going to be the Lemonade Stand Millionaire book, which is a book that I wrote to help kids and adults, really, but it's mainly for kids to learn about money and entrepreneurship, great habits. There's also going to be some one-on-one private meetings or private calls, and that is something that we can go over. Anything that you have that's a burning question or an area that you need support in. There is also going to be there's going to be tickets to go to a 30-day boot camp that is going to be as well a virtual program. But those are going to be part of the prizes. So I'm okay with ethically bribing you to get yourself out there and go out of your comfort zone and put things online. And hopefully that will help you, give you that incentive to make those choices. So today we're going to have a little bit of a tougher conversation, I guess. We're going to talk about grief. And it's really, grief is a natural response to loss. Our bodies are magnificent, and there are some things that they do that we probably, while we're going through it, don't think it's very helpful. But there are some reasons why we go through some of the things in grief. I am going to tell you, grief is a roller coaster, and it's up and down and sideways and every which other way that it can go. It has a mind of its own, and it's going to do something. It's going to do what it's going to do. And our job as we go through grief is to really assess what's happening and then decide. Sometimes it's just a matter of feeling our way through it. But today we're going to talk about the stages of grief. Then what's interesting is a lot of people think that grief is only for if we've lost someone in our life, or if we, that they relate it to death. But that is not the only thing that we grieve. We could grieve losing a job. We could grieve losing a relationship. It could be that maybe you have some things that happened many, many years ago and you lost some of your childhood, and you might still somehow be grieving that. If we don't deal with stuff, then a lot of the time it will come back and keep knocking at the door and remind us that we need to get on that, right? It could be that maybe your kids are growing up and now you are an empty nester, or your kids have started dating somebody. So you're going to grieve the loss of that experience of childhood with your, with your child that is now growing up and getting their own life. So there's a million different things that we can grieve about. So be open to that. There might be some things that are nagging in the background that might come to the surface as we're going through here. So there's several ways of looking at grief. There's several different, categories that different people use. We're going to use the 5 main ones. And so that is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Those are the main, most common stages of grief. We're going to add today in a 6th stage. That stage is called create something new. And this is something that I learned through the work that I've done with Tony Robbins. Now, these stages, as I said, don't just travel in a straight line. They can be experienced in different orders. They can be experienced together. They pretty much bounce around as they see fit. Now, for us to navigate our way back to joy, it's crucial to acknowledge and honor our emotions throughout this entire grieving process. Whether you're grieving the loss of somebody, loss of abilities, could be loss of health, it could be any number of reasons that we've also just talked about. We're going to explore these stages of grief, and we're going to gain insights on your personal journey. Okay? So remember, this process is unique to each person. There is no right way, there is no wrong way to navigate through it. Be patient with yourself. You're going to hear me say this a million times. Be gentle with yourself. You might be kicking yourself for maybe things that you're doing that is not normal behavior for you, and you can't understand why. It's grief. And that doesn't mean it gives you permission to act out of sorts or do inappropriate things. But if you notice that you're doing these behaviors, then you can start making some different changes and having those awarenesses, right? But remember, grief is a funny thing. The big thing is seek support when you need it. Now, if you really find yourself struggling, you might be reaching out to a therapist or a counselor that can give you some more personalized support if that's what you need. But remember, we have this group and you can lean on each other. You can always message me. And we're going to talk a little bit about self-compassion right now. It is, as we said, be gentle with yourself, and you want to allow yourself to feel every emotion that arises. One of the challenges when let's say you're starting to cry and we shove it down, or you can feel something coming up and we shove it down. Every time we shove it down, we are closing down our emotion, and you do that often enough and it becomes a permanent, permanent's a bad word. It becomes a habit. And so when I was going through, I cried a lot when I was going through everything after the suicide, and I was angry a lot. And most of the time, I allowed myself to feel it. Sometimes I would get mad at myself for being sad, and sometimes I would get sad for being mad. But that is where grief kind of goes like this, right? And so now I can look back and I can giggle about it sometimes, and I can realize that was just what I needed to do. So make sure you're giving yourself permission to grieve, and understand it's a necessary part of healing. There is no quick fix to this one. You must ride out the storm. And I know I'm making it sound like it's horrible, but it's not. But it is a journey that we're going to go through. Excuse me. You want to practice mindfulness, and that could be things like anything that's going to bring you into the present moment. Maybe journaling is something that you could do, maybe talking to a trusted friend. Make sure it's a trusted friend that is a good listener, not one that is going to maybe give you words of advice, or that is going to have a negative feel around it. Try to make sure you have somebody that is got some positive energy that's going to be able to support you through this. It could be meditation, maybe some deep breathing exercises. It could be that you're just going to be observing your emotions without judgment. Okay. The next thing is going to be self-care. It is an absolute priority to be taking care of yourself. And I find that when I was in the worst spots of my grief, I didn't. I didn't shower. I didn't eat well or regularly. It was, I was the bottom on the list of anything that was going to happen. So you want to do things that are going to nourish your mind, nourish your body, nourish your soul. I mean, it could be healthy eating. Maybe you've got a friend that knows how to cook really well, and you can ask them to make you something, right? And come over so that you can have an evening with somebody that you can connect with. It could be getting enough rest, maybe engaging in some hobbies. Spending time in nature, that's it for me, is a huge one. And it's one of the things that sparked my travel, is just to get out of my environment. And so maybe if you're feeling a little confined in your house, you need to get out of your environment. To me, I needed to get out of the cold as well as my environment. My most amazing memories and experiences when I travel are typically in nature, in the jungle, in the forest, in the ocean. So if that is something that sparks you, then do that. Taking care of yourself physically and emotionally really will help the healing process. Reframing your perspective is another, and we will talk a little bit more about that. Sometimes, may find it very challenging to find meaning in the lessons, and find the lessons in your experience. This is not going to happen at the beginning. So if you are raw with grief right now, you might not be ready for this, and that's okay. But when you're ready, reflecting on how you can grow and how you can learn from the situation that you're going through, the situation that you're grieving. And you want to focus on the possibilities ahead. What are the lessons you learned, and how can you use those lessons? You want to reflect on your own experiences and your emotions to gain a deeper understanding about how grief manifests in your life. And like we said before, it is normal to go up and down and sideways, and to experience grief not necessarily in this order. So we're going to talk about the stages, but remember, this is not necessarily the order of the stages. So the first stage that we're going to talk about is denial. Denial is an interesting one. It's actually a natural defense mechanism which helps protect us from overwhelming emotions. So it's almost like our brain shuts down certain parts of the experience that we may have gone through to protect us, so that, as you go through it, you might remember a little more, or, understand things a little differently. But that's your body's way of giving you what you can. So if you are experiencing denial, and that's when something happens, you're like, no, that didn't happen. And you're not willing to accept. We'll talk about that one later. The situation that you're in, and your mind just will spiral and spin. So if you are going through that, then again, reach out to this community, find some loved ones, some family members, some good friends that can gently help bring you back to reality. And I say gently because you really at this stage don't need anybody kind of giving you a big, hey, this is what's going on, and you don't need that firm pep talk. You need gentle. You want to engage in self-reflection and really just gradually allow yourself to process the truth. It's denial's a natural response to loss. You want to again seek support from loved ones that can be gentle with you, and be careful being caught as a victim. When we start pointing fingers to why everybody is at fault and there's nothing we can do about it, then we're putting ourselves in a situation where you're not going to move forward very quickly. So you want to look at, maybe it was somebody's fault, maybe it wasn't. I mean, I look at my late husband's suicide, and it was his decisions. Doesn't matter whose fault it was. He decided to make those phone calls, to steer off the marriage path. He made the decision to take his life. There's not necessarily anyone to blame. That's just the reality of what it is. When I was blaming him, it put me into anger, it put me into depression, it put me into a whole downward spiral. And as soon as I started realizing that these were decisions that he made, and this was just the reality of the situation, then I was able to bring myself back to a little bit more level ground. It took some time. And you want to practice self-awareness and gently challenge any of your denial, maybe your avoidance behaviors, and you can push your own envelope gently, because we sometimes do need to step through. It's not always about walking softly and sweetly. Sometimes we need to just charge through the forest, right? The next one we're going to talk about is anger. I spent a lot of time in that one, and for me, we just talked about not pointing a finger. I pointed a finger, and I pointed a finger at him. I pointed a finger at her. I pointed a finger, at everybody in his past that knew that this was a behavior pattern that didn't say anything to me. And again, what it did was spiraled. And typically, anger is a very, very normal response to loss. It's a very valid response to loss. It can be directed at various targets. Often it's not ourselves. Often those targets are the people that are closest to you, that are the ones, and I'm going to cry because I know I did it. And I have apologized. But when we lash out at people we love, it's because we believe that they will always love us, which is probably true. However, our behaviors, if we're doing that, you're going to create some, you're going to create tension. You're going to create a lack of trust. You're going to create challenge in that relationship, which is going to then just pile up. So be really careful when you're angry. I spent a lot of time alone when I was angry. I'm not suggesting that you do that, but that was my way of protecting myself from lashing out at other people and protecting the other people around me. I have horses, and I know that when I was training to be competitive, I would be riding every day. So I would go out, I'd get on my horse, and there were days that I could just feel in my body, it's not going to do it today. And it wasn't the horse's problem. It was my processing of those emotions problem. And this was even before all of this happened. This is just life in general. And I knew that if I stayed on that horse, I was going to make a decision that was not going to benefit the training, whether that be getting upset or whatever it was. And I often, not often, I would every now and then get on my horse, ride for 5 or 10 minutes, recognize that there was emotions brewing there that were not supportive of what I was doing, and I would decide to get off my horse and leave it at that and get on the next day when I was feeling better. It might have been something from, the day before or that morning that had got me all riled up. Doesn't matter. The horse doesn't know. Your family don't know when you lash out them. I mean, if you are going through stuff, they're going to recognize that. Anyway, we'll move on. You want to identify and express your angers in healthy ways. You could go on a run. You could do some writing. You could, again, talk to a trusted friend. What are some things that you could do? I mean, there's people that talk about punching pillows. I may or may not have done that a couple times. It works. You can practice deep breathing and relaxation to bring you back, any techniques to bring you back and manage those intense states. And if you can think about those when you're not angry and maybe have a little list of here's some things that I can do when I'm not feeling my best, maybe in control, you feel that anger brewing up. And if you do that when you're not angry, when you're in a good spot, then you have those resources when you feel yourself going down that path. You also, again, want to consider seeking professional help if you feel like it's not something that you can manage. And even if you do, having somebody to talk to that is neutral, that can give you professional feedback, can make a huge impact, okay? The next one that we're going to talk about is bargaining. I don't know if I went through this, but this is basically when somebody is trying to regain control or just make sense of the loss. And they'll make promises to God, they'll make promises to people they know, they'll make promise to anybody who will listen that's going to reverse the situation. Maybe if you've had a relationship that has ended, how many times, I am one of them, have we gone back with somebody that after a relationship has ended for very valid reasons because we forget, or hey, well, or if I don't do this anymore, maybe we can do this, or if they don't do this anymore, maybe this will happen. Think it through, because the thing is, there's going to be a sense of guilt, there's going to be a sense of regret, and you're going to believe that bargaining somehow is going to change that outcome. Typically, that's not going to happen. It really is a normal part of the grieving process. But remember, it is not in our control to change the past. What has happened has happened. Now, your future can be different. And if the grief that you're experiencing is not about a loved one that has passed, sometimes there are things and changes that you can make. But sometimes with the bargaining, we get a little unrealistic about it. Okay? So eventually you're going to accept the reality of your loss, and then you will be able to find healthier ways of coping and healing. If you find yourself in this stage, make sure that you are talking to somebody, whether it's a friend or a therapist. They can assist you in processing those emotions, to find the acceptance, to develop other healthy strategies. This is the stage of grief where, you're going to just reverse that loss or find meaning in the situation. So it could be, maybe you're going to say, like, if had only I spent more time with them, maybe they would still be here. I think part of it for me, when I was going through everything, I never blamed myself for his decisions. I never blamed myself for his choice to take his life. And many people that I have talked to that have experienced suicide loss, it is a huge problem. that there is that guilt and blame. I could have done something different and maybe this wouldn't have happened. So, it could be, maybe if I pray every day, they're going to get a second chance. I would do anything to have them back. So these are just, if you hear yourself saying these kind of things, what's happening is you are in that bargaining stage. And most of the time, it's just trying to have that awareness of that's what you're going through, and then a decision to focus on something a little bit different, right? And working your way through this. Depression is another one. Here, you want to allow yourself to feel and express sadness without judgment. We are our own worst critics more often than not. You want to seek support from friends, family, a therapist. You can engage in activities that bring you comfort. Maybe that is, spending time with loved ones. Maybe it's practicing self-care, pursuing hobbies. You're going to find a theme that some of the stuff that works in one stage works in another stage. If your depression becomes overwhelming or it's prolonged, seeking professional help. You're going to hear me talk about it, a fair amount through the 7 days. Now, if that is not your thing, it might not be with a counselor, it might be with a shaman. Maybe you're going to, sign yourself up for a healing retreat. There's so many different ways that you can communicate with people that can help you through this process. And again, this community, myself, we're all here to help support you. You want to engage in activities that bring you comfort. Sorry, I got that one already. And spending time in nature, as we said before, is such a beautiful thing. When you are in nature and you're in the forest or you're listening to the birds, you aren't in your head thinking about yourself and your problems and all of the things that weigh you down. It gives you that reprieve, that lightness for a time. Another stage that you may go through is, hopefully we go through this one, is the acceptance. And that, when we accept the reality, that does not mean that we're forgetting or we're minimizing the loss. It just means that we are understanding that this is the truth. This is the reality of the situation that I'm in right now. Once you have done that, then you can actually start working towards finding a new normal. You can practice gratitude for the positive aspects of your life, focusing on moving forward. One of the things that my late husband, Dwayne, did on the farm is he built a lot of stuff. We have chicken coops and a goat pen and another shed, all of these different things that he had built. And every time I used to walk by them at the beginning, I would either cry or swear or, curse his name up and down. And when I got to the part where I accepted, I would walk to the chickens, I would check the eggs, and I would actually thank him for building this coop, that I have now the opportunity to still collect eggs and have have someplace to care for my chickens. And it took a long time to get to that place, but I still do that, where there's still not opportunities, but there's still times where, I'm in the middle of something, and there is something that he had done that has made my life better now. It's still helping. And I am thanking him for doing that, giving gratitude for that structure being there, or for these things in place that he had something to do with, and starting to remember some of the good things. It took a little while for me to remember anything good. And you want to have some self-reflection. Personal growth is another amazing one, finding meaning and purpose in your experience. And you want to consider seeking support. You can also work on, if it's someone that you've lost, honoring the memory of what was lost. So you can do something for them, but it's also embracing the possibilities of the future. Okay, whew. So that's most of the heavy stuff. Remember, as I said at the beginning, these stages are not linear. You're going to potentially have them in different orders simultaneously. It's important to be patient with yourself and to find support. To, if you're finding yourself struggling and navigating through these stages, find that support that you need that's going to work for you. Remember that healing from grief takes time. Be patient, be gentle, be compassionate. And if you find it challenging to navigate and you need additional support, then get it. If A isn't working, do B. If B isn't working, do C. Sometimes sticking along one path for a little while is super important as well, to make sure that it's not just that resistance of going into that. All right. So you want to take the time to explore grief a little bit more. If you want to learn more, there's so much online, YouTube, Audible. You can grab a book at the bookstore. Reflect on your own experiences and consider how it has manifested and impacted your life and your healing process. Meditation, journaling. Everybody here hopefully has a journal. Writing down, sometimes just getting it out of your head and writing it down or speaking it gets it out of your body, and then you can let it pass. Try to understand and really reflect on where you are right now in your healing process, right? Pay attention to your emotions, your behaviors. Maybe you can journal that as well. What emotions did you go through that day? Recognize that each stage serves a purpose. They're in this healing process. I mean, denial may provide a temporary buffer of the overwhelming emotions. Anger can be a way of expressing your pain and frustration. Bargaining might be a way to, attempt to regain control. Depression allows for processing and reflection, and acceptance brings a sense of peace and moving forward. Understand that it's normal, to fluctuate between, and give yourself permission to experience and process each at your own pace. And here's one: don't ever let anyone tell you when you should be done grieving. I remember as I was going through everything, I did a lot of sharing on Facebook, and it was a way that I could, at 2 a.m, share my feelings or my thoughts. It was a way that I could express without having to talk to another human who was going to respond to me when I couldn't handle that at that time. So at the beginning, it was a way for me to not bottle things up. And then what I had found as I was doing this, I would have my good days, my bad days, and I shared everything. But I started getting messages from people thanking me for sharing and for letting them see not only, my healing journey, but those who had contemplated suicide in the past were looking at my journey and going, oh my gosh, this is what I'll do to my family, to my friends. Oh, I have a dragonfly. I don't know if it's going to come into the screen, but it keeps circling around, a little red dragon, a big red dragonfly. We'll see if he or she comes back to visit. Okay, where was I? But I did have one person that messaged me who was somebody I knew in my life from on a professional side. And the first time that they messaged me, they gave me their words of wisdom, which I hadn't asked for. And it was a private message that they had sent with, almost felt like instructions. And I let it pass, and I thanked them, and that was the end of that. But a few weeks later, I had done something. I had just watched a movie the night before, and I was really, it had suicide, the topic of suicide in it. And I was so proud of myself that I stayed and I watched the movie and I pushed through and I was okay. And that I really felt like that was some great growth for me. And I shared a post about it and a post about Tony Robbins and the skills that I had learned and how that was helping me. And I get this letter from this person who basically tore me down and talked about me being a victim and that it was time to move on and move forward. And I was in such a great place, and I just took the feet right out from underneath me. And I was so upset about it. I didn't respond for a couple of days, and then I did. And here's what I did. I went through his letter, and I responded to each point and gave my, well, I don't want to say justifications, I don't want to say reasons. I basically shut him down with a hug. How's that? So this person is not living my life. This person is not seeing what I'm going through every day. This person had no right to tell me how I should and should not be going through this process. Now, if there was things that were happening that were destructive and they were being supportive because they seen me, getting ready to go off the edge of a bridge, that's one thing, but that's not what was going on in this situation. So once I wrote this letter, I posted it. I didn't just post my letter, I posted their letter, and then I posted my letter. Now, I made it completely anonymous. Nobody still knows who wrote this letter other than a couple of close friends of mine. But I did that to show people that it's okay to stand up for yourself. It's okay to be going through a hard time. You don't have to, just because we know how to smile and move forward doesn't mean we're going to be able to shake it off in 30 seconds and move on to the next stage of our life. So, long story short, don't let anybody tell you how long it should take for you to grieve something. Okay? You do you. Remember, it's unique to everyone. There is no right or wrong way to navigate it. Continue to be patient with yourself. Seek support when you need it. If you find it challenging, again, there are so many different things that you can do to get extra help, extra support. All right. So now we're going to talk about the 6th stage of grief. And this is creating something new. So it's about channeling your energy into something constructive, maybe pursuing new goals, engaging in self-improvement, finding ways to contribute to others. Maybe it's about learning something new. But focusing on personal development and creating a new vision for the future. You can find strength and purpose in the face of loss. It's important to remember it's highly individual, right? Different things, different approaches are going to resonate differently with different people. And you want to focus on how you can go through this grief and create something new from the pain that will lift you and that will strengthen you. One of the things that you can do is creative expression. So it could be, if you're artistic, or maybe you're not artistic and you want to learn to be artistic. Yes, you can learn to be artistic. Painting, writing, poetry, expressing your emotions through creativity. There's all sorts of programs out there that you can do that. And I suspect there's a whole bunch of programs online that are also complimentary that you can learn about some of these things. Honestly, go grab a coloring book and some pencil crayons or crayons and do that. That is little things that can help. You can memorialize the one that you love, and you can create something that is a tribute to honor the person that you have lost. You could have a scrapbook and plant a garden in their honor. Organize a charity event in their memory. I have a friend of mine who is married and for the 2nd time and lost their first husband to brain cancer. And her current husband and herself and their family they now do something every year to honor that person and, to raise money. And they do that all together, which I think is absolutely beautiful. Supporting others. Honestly, when we're going through hell, if we can find somebody else that's going through and we can support each other, that, maybe volunteering, maybe it could be blogging, maybe it could be something like myself where I was sharing on Facebook, and that really helped. You could become an advocate for the cause of your loss, helping others to provide a sense of, a sense of fulfillment and contribution, personal growth. That could be exploring new interests, learning new skills, pursuing educational opportunities, investing in yourself so that you can create new paths forward and find a sense of purpose beyond your grief. Philanthropy. Maybe you're going to donate your time, your resources, your expertise to give back. Something that aligns with your values, your interests, and maybe the interests of your loved one. By giving back to others, there's something incredibly impactful about that. And again, seek professional help if you're finding it too challenging to do this on your own. But remember, the process of creating something from grief is highly personal. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. Allow yourself time and the space. Be patient with yourself. Listen to your own needs. Listen to your intuition. That is something that I lost for a little while, and another reason why travel was so important to me. I typically travel and I have 2 or 3 days booked, and then I go. And that's for 3 months. And I have a general idea-ish, maybe, but I did that for the purpose of learning to follow my gut. What do I want to do next? And having that faith that the right things will happen and show up for me. And it has been an amazing, beautiful journey, because I used to be a very much a planner, and I knew what was going to happen on what days, and no more of that. It's way more fun to do it this way. Okay. Thank you so much for being with me through this. I have to tell you that this is still healing for me. This is one of the things that I love doing this. This is my way to help support others that have gone through, all sorts of stuff. There's so much things in life that get, well, All right. Here is our glow work for day 2. You're going to grab your journal. If you don't have a journal yet, grab one. Notebook, could be a binder, find something. Could be some scrap paper that you're going to staple together, whatever you need to do, but find a place where you can have a journal. And I want you to write about it. And here's the bigger challenge. I want you to do 2 things that can start shifting how you're feeling right now. So it could be something that you're going to do today or tomorrow or next week, but I would suggest doing at least one really small thing. That might be just go outside and have a walk. It might be that you're going to watch some really sad, sappy movie so that you can have a really good cry and get it out of your system. Whatever those things are, what are some things that can help to shift how you're feeling now? The second is I want you to be really conscious of your self-talk. And I want you to catch yourself when you're being self-critical and redirect that. So, I sometimes I'll hear people like, oh, I'm so stupid. And they'll say that. And those are some things that I am really, and I'm still working on, eliminating those types of conversations, because my brain doesn't know if I'm kidding, if I'm serious, but if I'm feeding that brain that I'm stupid, what's going to happen is my brain is going to look for reasons to justify that. It's going to look for, oh, well, yeah, of course you're stupid. Remember you did this other stupid thing, and remember before you did that stupid thing? And so it compounds. So if you notice yourself being self-critical or saying things that are not supportive of yourself, don't beat yourself up about it. Go, I was in Fiji last year at a seminar, and the woman on stage who is wealthy, powerful, intelligent, a powerhouse, and she would from time to time make a mistake on the stage, and she had this awesome little thing, and I forgot about it till just now, actually. And she would go, oh, look at that. I'm so human. I'm so adorable. Look at that. I'm so human. I'm so adorable. And she would make light out of it. And then she moved on. And I love that. So that is your second thing. Now, your third thing we didn't talk about at all, but we will talk about it in more detail, I suspect, in the 30-day program. Purge a drawer, purge a closet, purge something. Take a half an hour or an hour and purge something. You wouldn't, well, maybe you do. I feel so great after I've done a purging session. But don't try and say I'm going to purge the whole house. Purge a drawer. Maybe you have a table that is got all sorts of junk on it. Today's the day you're going to clear that up. So there we go. There are your glow up challenges for today, your glow work. Remember to share. So I want to see everybody getting on the private group, putting in maybe what your things are that you're going to do. If you've done them, do them. Put a picture on. Tell us how it felt. And I look forward to chatting with you tomorrow. We're going to have a lot more fun tomorrow. Bless you all. Have an amazing rest of your day. And I look forward to chatting with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.